Welcome back. A very, very good friend of the show joins us, Dave Duncan, with an incredible sales record over the course of his career, averaging over 100 transactions per year since 2000. And welcome back, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to be back, Ben.
It's good to see you. And I know that, with the weather like this, your golf fever must at least be picking up.
I did sneak out last night, yes.
Last night?
Yeah.
Wow. You played night golf?
Well, not night. I teed off at 5.
Got it. Well, you sneak one in. So Dave, let's talk. I know you spend a lot of time in King and Snohomish County, and you work a lot on the kind of that with new homes. Tell us a little bit about. We know the market's hot in downtown Seattle. It's been well publicized, Seattle Times, and we've talked about it. What's going on kind of with the new homes in general and in certain markets?
It's gotten a lot busier. The inventory's down, so of course
on new homes also.
I'll share some stats in a bit, but they're still way down because what happened was 3-4 years ago when all the banks started taking back a lot of the land. First thing to go were the bank-owned finished lots. Those got gobbled up by just the big guys. Most of the little guys got killed and were out of business by then. So really, you're talking about the big national builders and the local independents that made a few good decisions, and there weren't a lot of them. So they competed for the finished lots. Then after that, they gobbled up the partially finished lots. Then after that, maybe the last year or two, they bought the preliminary plats and they started developing those. But they're still not all the way through the pipeline yet. So you're seeing more stuff come online with the big national guys, but it's not there yet. So,
are there a lot of? I remember the pre-sales. There used to be pre-sales, right? People buy a house, kind of waiting for it to be done. I imagine when there's so many people and so few houses, that's probably happening again.
You're starting to see it more and more. Obviously, builders like to see their specs sell first before they start offering pre-sales. So for most guys, they still want to keep a steady inventory of spec houses, or by spec, meaning speculation, for those that don't know what that phrase means, meaning they build it without a buyer and assume a buyer will come. There's one big builder.
Sounds like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Well, they're coming again now.
They are now, aren't they?
They weren't for a while.
So what's happening then? How are builders approaching the Seattle market? Is it different than in other places?
They're grabbing whatever. Well, as far as the second question first, is it different than other places? I don't see too much otherwise. The only places we compare it to are the places that have a lot of desert, so that they have a more sprawl. Therefore, it doesn't grow as quickly as it does here because we're finite in the land we've got. But what we've seen, though, is, again, those guys that are still around that have any capacity for volume, they're buying up everything they possibly can. And the bigger the piece, the more too much they're going to pay. I had one 190-lot plat that we were competing on from the FDIC was a seller. And my guy's a big local guy, and he was going to pay, I think it was appraised for 2.4, and he'd gone up to $3 million. But the one big national paid 3.6 just because they wanted to control. You can pretty much do whatever you want when you create your own identity in a big plat like that.
So they end up basically, in some ways, monopolizing the market.
Well, plus that particular one's a public company, too, so that gives them a lot more freedom.
And more money.
Oh, yeah.
So what then, okay, so you'd say that Seattle's kind of unique in that there's a lot more new development. What's going on in the market then? Do you see house prices going up in the new construction? Are you getting more than you anticipated?
Well, all these stats here, and I probably won't get into all of them, but basically the message is that prices have gone up the last 2 months, and that hasn't happened since 2007. But the real reason for that is sales are up about 20% across the board, the number of sales. But inventory's down 35-40% depending on where you are.
Isn't this just classic supply and demand? At some point in time, if all the inventory is getting sucked up, including the new houses, they'll just eventually start raising their prices, won't they?
Well, they do. I've seen it in some of my projects already. We had a lull on a plat in Marysville, and so we said, okay, we'll give you a $10,000 buyer bonus. Boom, we sold 10 in 2.5 weeks. So now he hasn't raised the prices yet, but he's going to see. But
he got rid of that $10,000 buyer bonus.
He's not giving a nickel more than that.
I would imagine. So it trends, new construction trends with the older construction or resales that you see. Also, it's pretty similar.
New construction leads the way. Resale follows. As new construction prices go up, I see resales will follow, although they really haven't yet. The big X factor we don't know about is how much of the foreclosure market's going to come on or not. I hear differing things, and I certainly don't know the answer.
Lots of the good old word shadow.
Shadow, yes.
Yeah.
That was.
I heard you love that word, Dave.
Yeah, I've heard it enough.
You're over it, huh? So let's talk, actually, let's get into some of these numbers because I know you brought them. And so let's go through, I know, King and Snohomish is really where you do most of your business. Tell us a little bit about King County, and then let's get into Snohomish County.
King County, I have three things here: active listings, pending sales, and closed sales. The pending sales are the sales that they're the most recent. They sold usually in the last 30, 45 days, and they're not yet closed. In May over May, well, forget that one. We'll do year to date. Year to date, we're up 21% in King County on pending sales. Closed sales, 16%, but May it was up 24%. And that's just, those
are big numbers to just glaze over, aren't they? 21%, 24%.
They are, but you compound that with King County active listings in May were down. Well, again, I'll stick with the year to date. We're down 37%. So for the mathematicians in
they
there,
sound like they're 16% short.
There's a lot of people shopping for not enough houses.
And so do you see that to continuing to happen until, I guess, more people sell their house?
Until more people put their homes on the market. As long as inventory stays down, it's got to stay busy. Now, and you guys know more about this than I do, but I just, on a phone call driving here, heard about the new valuation process where they have to back out concessions. That could absolutely kill. For example, those houses in Marysville where we said, we'd sell them for $250 and we give $10,000 in concessions. I've got to read the whole thing, but the layman's term I heard was they're going to make it where they're quoting net numbers, and that'll destroy sales to a degree, though.
Well, it'll hurt because now all of a sudden you can't just have the seller pay all your closing costs.
Exactly. So it'll drop the price, so they potentially would sell, but 9 out of 10 want closing costs.
It'd be an interesting. It would be interesting to see because now you have people who have to bring more cash to the table, and really, when you have the seller pay your closing costs, it is just a way to essentially bump up the price and have the seller pay them. But it's been pretty common practice, so it's tough to imagine that's a line on the contract right there that essentially gets eliminated.
Yeah, I hope some common sense will prevail. But you're right. Now, in the old days, we would bump the price up for that's the reason for the appraisal problems in the first place. But now we haven't done that for a long time. We just build the closing costs in the price.
It's kind of the same thing.
That depends where you start.
Okay, there you go. Depends on where you start. We're here with Dave Duncan, broker, and with Keller Wiliams and the Dave Duncan Group. So let's talk a little bit about Snohomish County, and then I want to get into some of those trends in new construction because, everybody likes new.
Yeah, most of the numbers are just similar in Snohomish County. The only one of real note that ties into what we've been talking about is the inventory of new homes. It's from what it was last May to what it was this past month. It's at 62% of what it was, so it's down almost 40% from a year ago. So again, that drives home the point that if you have new construction, you're going to be selling them. Well,
it would also make sense why those guys, your small and local group and these big national builders are swarming to create inventory.
They are. My guy's looking at 2015 now, trying to tie up inventory for then. And I don't know his exact numbers, but he likes to have 150, 200 lots available to build on. So they're looking at anything and everything.
It's a lot of lots. It's a lot of houses.
It is. But they're gobbling them up for now. It can't last forever, of course, but we've turned the corner. The worst is behind us. I will knock on this.
I don't know.
Granite.
Yeah, I think it's fake granite, but that's okay.
Yep.
Well, so with new construction, you must be pretty involved in what they're building. What do you see some of the biggest trends that are coming in? What are people looking for?
You see so many different things. I've got two distinct types of product people are buying. One is the 1,500 to 2,000 square foot houses. And really, it's just, younger families getting the most they can. And, they've eliminated the living rooms nowadays, so the great room effect. They still like to see, the granite and the hardwood and that kind of items. But where I am, you get them in South Snohomish County. Up in Marysville, you don't get that stuff unless you pay for it. But the other trend we're seeing, but it's because we're the only game in town in that size, is square footage for the dollar. We've got probably 6 plans that are anywhere from 3,000 to 3,600 square feet, and that's just pure, like I said, square footage for the dollar. I think we get as low as $87 a foot. And
a lot of people tend to like that more without the yard. There's less maintenance. I see it more and more just in the neighborhoods around here. just anywhere, I guess, even on the east side. They take one big lot, put 2 houses on it.
Or 3 or 4.
Or 3 or 4, I guess, if you're a builder and you're trying to sell a bunch of houses. That would make more sense, wouldn't it?
It's all about the volume, yeah.
That's right. Well, Dave, we have to go to break again. Dave Duncan with Keller Wiliams. Any other big things that are going on? I mean, you talked about the great room. You talk about getting size. Everybody likes the big houses now, granite. What about, just like general layout? Everything's 2 stories now. There's no 1-story Ramblers being built anymore, are there?
Very, very few. About every couple of years, we'll decide, all right, hey, we need a Rambler with the graying of America. And then you can't make it competitive.
With the grain of America?
Graying of America,
Oh, the
yes.
grain.
Gray.
Got it.
With all of us getting old.
Got it, yeah. Or you're going to have to put in the little what do you call them? The little chairs that go up and, you sit on them and they go up the stairs.
We've actually done a few of those.
Have you?
And that was a big development, 160.
For those who can't see, I literally just turned around and started pretending like I was sitting on one, which, anyways, nobody needed to know. Well, Dave, thanks so much for joining us. Really do appreciate you coming. Great friend of the show. Again, Dave Duncan with Keller Wiliams. We have a real estate show and we have our Daves here. So David Bell is coming up next. And, a lot of people do try to get into this type of real estate market. Maybe don't always know what they're getting themselves into. David Bell is going to tell you a little bit more about what you can expect right after this.